All right. So Matt, what I'm interested in doing is, I shouldn't put here. So I want a simple website with a very specific coding schema. So I'm writing a text for one of my classes, and my vision is that this website has a couple static elements, which I'll explain in a second. Some elements that when you click on, they change and they stay changed, and then some elements you click on and they go back and forth. So, for example, like the static at the top of the page, I wanted to say like whatever I figured out. Like right now, it's mobile pedagogy and my name, right? So that'll always stay up at the top of this simple web page. Maybe at the bottom of the page, I have my contact information and a link to the references page because this is still going to be, it'll still have to have academic references. But the actual page that I envision, the question, if you will, it's going to just be this top question to begin with. Okay, so how do I use technology in my classroom? But secretly, we've coded it. So this question happens in three, like it has like quote unquote three chunks to it. So for example, if I click on how do I, then I want just this part to change to how do we. So then it would read across how do we use technology in my classroom, which I know grammatically is incorrect, and if you can change it so as R2, that's cool. But the point is that when you click on how do I, that it changes to how do we, and that this text down here, like right there below it, changes as well. So for example, I'm gonna have like a whole explanation of why it changes from how do I to how do we. This collaboration of like social networks and PLNs and so forth. So the same thing would happen when I say that if I click on use, those words would change to design for. So now it would read, how do we design for technology in my classroom? So again, that whole like, if we can figure out the pronoun, if not, whatever. And this text changes, right? It's talking about the shift from use to design, right? It's like it's an important shift to talk to like position this idea of design as foremost in the teacher's perspective. Then you click on the last part of the question, technology in my classroom, click, and now it changes to student experiences with technology. So, um, so now the question, and accordingly, this text here changes to like why does this shift matter? Like technology in my classroom to student experiences with technology. Here's a whole like text that goes down the web page for so forth. So now we have this question that has stayed that doesn't go back and forth. Like if I click on we, I don't want it to go back to how do I want it to stay, how do we design for student experiences technology? Now I also mentioned that I want this elements you can click on and they can go back and forth. What I'm thinking about here is that through each of these iterations, so there's kind of an intro when we start the page and it says how do I use technology in my classroom, and there's like an intro text here where I click, right, there's no text, click new text. If you click on the text, like say I just clicked on this text, then it would actually transform to the academic, to another text. Okay, so the one that you see right off is targeted towards teachers. It's in like a friendly teacher voice, like, oh, this is the way I think about teaching and so forth and blah, blah. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to be my academic underpinnings, like theoretical underpinnings. It's in an academic voice, complete with like references and all of that, as if it were the paper that I was handing to my professor. So I want you to be able to click on this and it go back and forth, so you can look at. So if I click on like how do I change this to how do we? Here's my like teacher text. I click on it, and boom, it goes back to the. It goes to this other quote unquote other text. Okay, and then I click on it again, it's back to the teacher text, and I click on it again, and it goes back to the academic text. So that is the vision. I have a kind of and why that would be like a final version of this, like a conclusion, so we can figure out how that looks coded wise. But hopefully this makes sense. I just want a beautiful little website. This is this at the top that has a question that I can click on, and that changes, and then this content here that can go back and forth as well. So I have all the content, but I need somebody to help me set up the actual super simple website. If you know anybody, if you can do it, let me know. I will barter some form of goods, and we'll go from there. Thanks, Matt.